Welcome back to Something in the Wilderness. Our song today may be the most notorious Andrew anthem in the entire catalog. It's etched its own place in the emo and pop-punk world over the years. And since it's almost 11/11, I brought several of our former guests together to help me dig into this epic ballad. Of course, I'm referring to Konstantine. This is part one of a two-part episode, so be sure to stick around for the second one. In this episode, we're going to dig into lyrics, talk about the origins of the song, different versions of it, and why Andrew only plays this song once per year these days. The Dear Jack Foundation campaign is currently going strong. Their goal is $250,000. So if you want to contribute to this campaign, hit up the link in the show notes. I'll include it there. And I hope you enjoy this discussion. I know I did. All right, I'm so excited to have you guys here tonight. We've got Bella, Mike, and Jake here with me to discuss one of the most infamous songs in the Andrew catalog. So, I'm going to have them each introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into it. So, Jake, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Like you said, I was here with the Walking By episode a few months ago. Another Something Corporate episode. Yeah, just been a fan of Andrew McMahon's music since basically 2006. Excited to talk more about it. Excited to talk about Konstantine.
Awesome. How about you, Bella?
My name is Bella. I did the La La Lie episode just a couple weeks ago, which was really fun, so I'm glad to be back again so soon. And I just love the experience, love talking about Andrew's music. I've been a fan for about 6 years, and he's still my favorite musician, so I'm just glad to be here and talk about it.
Cool, thanks. And last but not least?
Yeah. Hey guys, my name's Mike. I was the Dark Blue episode, and I'm so excited to be back. Thanks for having me again, Steve. This is such a fun podcast. Like I said, the first time I was here, you're doing the Lord's work, in my opinion. So,
yes, I'll second that, Mike.
Yeah,
I agree.
I do appreciate that compliment. Thank you. Hey, I guess someone had to do it, right? Someone had to make an Andrew McMahon podcast. So there's obviously a lot of hardcore fans out there of Andrew McMahon, and everybody knows the song Konstantine, or every fan of Andrew's knows Konstantine.
Yes.
I don't know if it's his most famous song. It wasn't even officially a single. It clocks in at 9 minutes and 38 seconds, so it is his longest song. But it's one of those songs that all the fans seem to know. And even a little bit outside of the Andrew McMahon circle, let's say, if you're just talking the emo pop punk scene of the early 2000s, that whole group of fans, whether they were hardcore Something Corporate fans at the time or not, at least know the song and probably like it as well. It was originally featured on the Ready Break album. It was the final track on their first official release before they signed to a record label in the year 2000. And it was actually recorded live in front of an audience. It was later featured on the Songs for Silent Movies EP that was a Japanese import in 2003. And then it was again released on their Played in Space Greatest Hits compilation in 2010. So I'm going to give Jake the first crack at this, because I'll be honest, this was Jake's idea. He messaged me back a few months ago, and he was like, "So when's the Konstantine episode?" And I was like, "I will let you know when the Konstantine episode is." And I finally decided to do it because I thought it was good timing. Andrew frequently, if not always, plays Konstantine at the Dear Jack Foundation concert, which is coming up. It's almost always on 11/11, and you may know that it's a charity event where they try to raise up to $250,000 or more for the Dear Jack Foundation to help cancer survivors or people that are going through treatment right now. So, Jake, what was it about this song specifically that you were like, we've got to do Konstantine at some point?
I thought it was only fitting that I request it, because it's just such a requested song. And, the song it's really sort of a cult classic within a cult classic, sort of. It has this almost infamous nature, just because, for anybody listening that may not know, I think most of the people listening probably do know, but it's a song that oftentimes, especially throughout the Jack's Mannequin years, would be requested a lot from people in the crowd, would yell out, like, "Oh, play Konstantine." which I'm just a very, like, me personally, if I'm, watching one of my favorite artists of all time, performing, I'm like, hey man, play what you want to play.
Yeah.
I might listen to it all the time on my own time, but I'm happy to just hear you play whatever you want to play, and I'm going to have a good time. But that being said, I was lucky enough to hear this song once in 2013 in Salt Lake City. Yeah, it just made my year. It was awesome. It was kind of a bucket list thing that I got to finally hear live. But I wanted to talk about it just because it's such an important part of the fandom, and especially people who were Something Corporate fans. I kind of came onto the scene during the Jack Stranahan years, and I went back online and watched a bunch of YouTube videos of live performances, and I found the Live at Ventura DVD that was on YouTube. I eventually, bought the DVD, but I did watch it on YouTube, and I was already like, I already really liked Everything in Transit a lot, that Jack Stranahan album that won me over. But it was when I saw that performance on that DVD of Konstantine, something about it just really got me in deep, and I haven't looked back ever since.
So what about you, Mike? What's so special about this song to you? You've been around as a fan since the Something Corporate years. What is it about this song that sticks out to you?
Like I said in the episode that I did with Dark Blue, Something Corporate was one of the first bands that made me want to start playing music myself and writing music and things like that. And one of the things that I remember doing to learn how to play the piano was I would skip lunches and sometimes classes, and I would listen to Something Corporate songs and pluck every single key until I figured out exactly what I was hearing. And I remember doing that with Konstantine quite a bit. And I remember that with I Woke Up in a Car quite a bit. And looking back at it, it's probably because it's the same thing being played for a long period of time, And so that's why it was probably easy for me to be like, this is how you do it. Okay, cool. And then finally, I finally figured it out. I mean, of course, the Leaving Through the Window era was really when I was getting into Something Corporate pretty heavy, and you could find Konstantine through LimeWire and Kazaa and all kinds of places that would make the drummer from Metallica upset with you. And yeah,
Shade.
And so I would I listened to that song quite a bit. And when you're 13 and you're in high school, that song just means everything, man. You feel so seen. And it's just it was just a lot, man. I remember that song having a lot of feelings to that song, but also there's a nostalgia to it for me as a musician, because it's one of the first songs I learned how to play on the piano. So it's pretty important to me in a lot of ways.
And so Bella, who's a newer fan to Andrew McMahon, the Andrew McMahon world, what was it like to go back into the catalog? And I know some of the first songs that you heard by Andrew were I Woke Up in a Car and the mixtape. But when you got to Konstantine, what was that like to get a hold of that?
I was surprised. I was surprised to see a 9 minutes long song and, listening to it for the first time, and you're kind of hit in the face with it, especially when you're a new fan like that. I wasn't expecting it, but I immediately loved it, of course, and I found out later how iconic it was in that scene of like that emo scene, and how pretty much everybody worships that song and loves it. And yeah, it was really interesting to just discover a song like that, such a cult classic that's cherished and worshipped by so many and has been consistently for years and probably will be forever. And yeah, I was really impressed and surprised by it, but it's definitely one of my favorite songs of all time.
Especially early Something Corporate was very diverse. They had these sweeping piano ballads, and then they had this pop punk image as well that they fulfilled with certain tracks as well. So it was a very different. If you're used to the pop punk stuff, like I Woke Up in a Car and mixtape
Yeah.
from Jack's Mannequin, then you went back and you heard this epic ballad. I mean, every band had a ballad though, right? But
Yes.
most of them weren't over 9 minutes long, nearly 10 minutes long. So, Mike, you brought up something that I wanted to touch back to, and that's you said you played this song like to practice it and just
Right.
kind of get a feel for it.
Right.
I want to remind the audience that Mike did a cover of Dark Blue. His original cover was on YouTube, which is how I found him a while back. And then he actually did an exclusive piano version of Dark Blue, which we included in the Dark Blue episode. So again, I want to thank you for that. That's so cool to have
It's
as a piece of
excellent,
the show.
by the way.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I would have done Konstantine, but it's just too much time.
I wasn't going to ask you to. Don't worry. That's not where I was going with it.
It's okay.
I think your hands would get tired, after like 5 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mine
yeah,
would.
in the words of Andrew, it's just way too long.
Yeah.
By the way, I too sat down and sounded the sort of. I can kind of play it.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not a musician by any means. I probably can't play it like officially, but I can kind of play the main.
Of course.
Riff or whatever. But yeah, I'm not where you are. But
Hey man, I'm not even
it's a
that
fun
good,
song to play.
to be honest. So
Not true.
Yeah, Dark Blue sounded pretty good, but I'm not going to ask you to play a Konstantine. But what's that like to try to play this song? Besides tiring, of course.
Believe it or not, growing up, I remember it being one of my favorite songs to play all the time because it was so easy to just close your eyes and kind of escape and like fall into this trance, because it's like the and one of my favorite things, which like Andrew kind of taught me this, and I've kind of taken this to my own as well, and that's to put a lot of emotion in what you're saying, and we'll get to as far as the lyrics and things, but like there's with certain lyrics, the way that he says things, or the way that he takes a really deep breath before he says a specific phrase, where you're just like, oof, man, like that hurts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of those songs that like, that's why it was fun to play.
Because you could feel it?
Yeah, it was just a very like, at least for me, it was one of those like, you could feel it very emotionally kind of a thing. However, it's not a song that I wrote. And if it were a song that I wrote and I played it 1,000 times, I would absolutely despise it. So
no, I get that.
So I get why Andrew is like, I wrote it when I was 15. Let's get over this. Like, I get it's my free bird, but please, like,
Yeah, I mean, because it's repetitive and it's long.
Exactly.
And it just takes up so much time, right? And we'll come back around to the whole live show thing.
That's mainly the big thing, which from what I understand, I saw this documentary a long time ago. There was a Warped Tour documentary, maybe came out when I was 12 or 13, and Something Corporate was on there, and they talked about how on the tour they play Konstantine because it's that requested.
Mm-hmm.
And you get 4 songs when you play Konstantine, dude. Like what in the world? So like, what do you get? Like, you get Punk Rock Princess, Konstantine, I Woke Up in a Car, Space, and like you get one special song a day, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see how that would be annoying.
So, yeah.
So you touched on feelings. So like, any of you guys, like, how does this song make you feel? Like, what does it bring up in you when you hear? Is there nostalgia tied to it? Is it a memory? Is it a feeling? What is it?
Personally, I felt nostalgic the first time I heard it, even though I had never heard it before. It was almost making me miss somebody I'd never even met yet. I still attribute it to that feeling.
Could not have said it better myself. Yeah.
What a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me, it's always transported me to an entirely different place, which can be said for most of his music, of course, but this one being so long and just that piano, it just sucks you in so much, and it just really transports you to, you just feel like somebody else and you miss somebody and you're a teenager and you've got that like hopeless, scared feeling that comes with teenage love. And yeah, it's just I've never even felt that outside of that song. So
Wow.
it's really special.
That sounds pretty special.
Kind of tying into what Bella just said, feeling nostalgic for somebody you haven't even met yet. That's so true, because to me, I was 16, 17 in high school when I discovered the song, and it's weird because it's kind of funny because I felt like I related to it. The whole like, romance and like breaking up and getting back together and all the confusion that it encapsulates. But I hadn't even had a girlfriend at that point. Like I really didn't experience any of that world until college. But somehow the song sort of made me feel like it's like I thought I related to it, but I didn't yet.
Yes.
But I later would, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But it's kind of funny because I was this young teenager who really hadn't experienced much romance yet, and it kind of made me feel like, no, yeah, I get this. It's like, no, you don't.
No, yeah, I feel the same. I was 12 when I first heard it, so I mean, I had no experience to relate it to, but yet I felt like I did. I felt like I had some experience from some other, maybe like a past life or something, like something coming back to me. It just like, I just felt all those feelings that you would feel if you wrote that song or something. You don't even have to experience what he's singing about to really feel.
I think that a lot of the fans who are drawn to Andrew's music are drawn to it because they can feel something on some kind of emotional level. Like we like emotional music, and that's why his fans love his ballads so much. I think is because you might have like this sort of more casual fans that are like, yeah, I don't know, I'll mosh to like your big fast radio hit, but like I'm not gonna listen to the whole album. But I feel like a lot of Andrew's fans are really devout and like all of his music, and we really like those emotional, honest, earnest songs. Like we really love them.
Absolutely.
For that reason.
It's so honest, and I come at it from a slightly different angle in that I don't know if I relate to it or I definitely feel connected to the song. I don't necessarily relate to exactly what he's saying in the song, but I can feel what he's feeling. And that happens a lot with Andrew for me. So it's like, wow, if someone told me a story, I wouldn't feel it. But when he sings me this story, I feel what he's feeling. I also want to touch back to something Bella said about feeling nostalgic even the first time, because there are a couple of, actually, specifically in the Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness era, there are songs that remind me of my childhood, the first time I heard them, which is so strange because they came out when I was 5 years younger than I am now, 6 years younger than I am now. So
I don't know if this is even worth saying, but I always am reminded of Konstantine when I listen to House on the Trees.
Okay.
Because
That
the
makes
dun
sense.
dun 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 dun, like it's very similar to the dun 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 dun, so I'm just like, is this his like more mature Konstantine of like,
ooh, that's a good point.
of like, I'm talking to the people that I should have talked to before, and like just letting like, hey, if like all your friends are gone, there's still room for you in my house.
That song, Mike, is one of the songs I was referring to when I said makes me nostalgic for my childhood.
Yeah.
That's
Love
kind
that
of the
song.
prime example. It's a beautiful song, and I've never put that one and Konstantine together. What do you guys think? Are there other songs that are newer of Andrew's that you feel like are maybe cousins or distant cousins of Konstantine, either musically or maybe lyrically? I don't know.
I mean, lyrically, you could say that about so much of his catalog. You
Yeah.
could say that about Everything in Transit as an album. There's quite a bit of stuff. But yeah, I mean, the biggest one for me was always House on the Trees, where I was just like, man, this seems like a, and maybe this is just like a me thought, but it just reminds me of Konstantine in a lot of ways. And I was like, I even looked up like what the like what the BPMs were and like what the keys and everything were, just to like double check. I'm like, is it in the same key or something? Is that why I'm going crazy?
Mm-hmm.
They're not even in the same key. Like,
No.
it's just like, why do these songs sound so similar? Like, but they just do for some reason to me. And, hopefully after people listen to this, they'll DM me and be like, you're not the only one. You're not insane. Like,
Yeah.
I could see that. The song "Maps for the Getaway" comes to mind. One, it also has this sort of like nostalgic kind of vibe, almost like an '80s nostalgic kind of sound to it.
I agree.
And also it's like kind of slow, but not that slow, kind of like Konstantine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's again with that, sort of like emotional kind of vibe that a lot of the songs have.
I will say that the Made for Each Other songs, MFEO songs on Everything in Transit, always, those two songs, practically one song put together, that has always reminded me of Konstantine.
yeah,
Partly
that's a fair
the
point.
length, and partly just because, to me, I've always viewed that song, those two songs, as like a part two to Konstantine. Because Konstantine to me just perfectly encapsulates teenage love, and then MFEO just perfectly encapsulates like young adult love, and things are starting to get more serious and intense. And I've always kind of seen similarities between those two songs and kind of viewed MFEO as like a part two to Konstantine.
And the similarities to piggyback off of your point is that there's also movements. So like, the beginning of Made for Each Other, is this like, maybe we're made for each other, and then it's like the resolution of like, you can breathe, we figured this out.
Very
Just like
true.
how Konstantine is just like, I'm just dreaming about you, and then the resolution of like, and then you'll kiss me in your living room, like we're here now.
Very true. Good point.
They're very similar in that regard. That's a good point, Bella.
I love that. Jake, this isn't exactly a more recent song either, but I'll always remember that when we talked about Walking By, we talked about this idea that, hey, why isn't Walking By looked at as this epic ballad? Is it simply the length? Because Walking By is such a powerful song as well, with powerful lyrics. What do you think about that one in comparison to Konstantine? Like, why isn't it Walking By that everybody's yelling for at the concert?
Well, I think that the length of the song does kind of give it a novelty. Like Mike said earlier, it's his Freebird, or you could compare it to like a Hotel California, just that epically long song. And also there's just the simple fact that he didn't play it for so long.
True.
That people want what they can't have, I suppose. But I don't think he ever played Walking By a time either. But when we talked about that, I was kind of wanting to just to just make the point that, like, if you're at a show and you don't hear a song that maybe you want to hear, just try to appreciate the other ones. Like,
right.
He's got a lot of good music, and to just kind of go with it. And sometimes I've been to concerts where I wanted to hear a song and I didn't hear that particular song, but then there was another song that I'd never heard that I now love. So it's like, just go with it, and don't stress the band or performer out with your requested for karaoke bars.
Yeah, I gotta say that I need to take your advice a little bit more often, because in my mind I am the one saying, I really want to hear this one song, or there's these three songs.
No, for sure, I get it.
Yeah, but I would never yell it out, or, hey, you got to play this one, or be the angry guy afterward. I can't believe you didn't play that one. That's never.
And it depends on the show, because sometimes it's a setup where requests are welcome.
Right. Oh, there's that too, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good segue to talk about live performances. So we've already touched on it a bit, but I saw this one performed in 2005 during the Something Corporate North tour.
Oh, wow.
So this may be sacrilege, but I don't remember hearing this song in concert. Can you believe that? I don't. It was 16 years ago, and I'm like,
Bummer.
I got to look at Setlist FM to see if he played it. Yeah, wow, he played it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, have you tried to go on YouTube and see if you can find any footage of maybe that show?
That show's not out there, but Live at the Ventura is almost the exact set that I saw. It was recorded the same time.
That was a long set list. Was it that long?
21 songs, something like that. 22. It
Oh
was
boy,
a bit. I could be a
Gotcha.
little off. I could be a little off. It
got
was
your money's worth.
Yeah, it was January
Yeah.
of 05. So it
Yeah,
was like
that's
over a year after North came out. They were playing a good mix of both albums. So
and Ready Break.
yeah, and to play a 9-minute song, now he did play a minute or two of the song on the Upside Down Flowers tour in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know if you guys have seen this on YouTube or if anybody's posted. I haven't looked for it, but I'm sure it happened in other cities too. He says, I'm going to play a minute of this song, pull out your phones, and you can tell everybody that you heard it. And I can't, based on what I know now after researching it, I'm really surprised he did that. Like he trolled basically the people who weren't there with it. And people sure enough did record it. I did not. I didn't. I honestly don't record.
And then he started playing that Rickroll song, the "Never Gonna Give You Up."
He really should have. He should have said, "Here it is," and then played
Yeah.
something that nobody.
Here's
wants
the
to
infamous song that everybody's always requesting.
hear. Yeah, I can't remember what part he played, but have any of you seen Konstantine perform live that you actually remember? Unlike me.
I saw something corporate on their reunion, on the 10-year reunion. So in 2010, I saw it. I saw them play, and it was a giant set list. They were the only band, and they played for 2.5 hours. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Amazing.
And yeah, and they 100% played Konstantine, and it was awesome. It was very, very awesome.
Now, was it being requested that you remember ahead of the time he played it, or was the audience pretty cool?
This was the Jack's Mannequin era had already been a thing. So fans of Andrew already knew that, he wasn't really playing it because he's in Jack's Mannequin and that's a different band.
Yeah.
To where it's like, if you're in something corporate, you got to play Konstantine now. You're in something corporate now,
Yeah.
So there's a difference. And I think he knew that going in. But yeah, they played so much. I mean, they even did a few stuff from Ready Break, like they did If I Die and Wait and
Wow.
a few other great songs.
That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw him in 2013 in Salt Lake City. It was in this era in between. It was after Jack's Mannequin, but before Wilderness,
All right.
where he was just touring Jack's as Andrew McMahon, and he had the EP with Synesthesia. So this was like spring 2013.
Whoa, hang on. I've seen him play Konstantine twice then. I
Were you at that
forgot
show?
that time.
Nice.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
you're good.
I guess I forgot that one time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm not the only
But
one.
yeah, it was. I saw him in Salt Lake City, and it was a small venue called In the Venue. Yeah, he played it. Couldn't believe it. I didn't know if he was going to play it. It wasn't like going to see the something corporate reunion where it's like, oh, he's probably going to play that. It was like, holy crap, he's playing it finally. And it was magical. And I actually got to meet him after the show that night, and it was just like unreal.
That's cool.
He was. It was kind of the break in between songs, and people randomly started shouting out, "Play Konstantine." I think he was kind of annoyed because he was like, I was about to. Like, he was like, I was about to play it. Just
Did he say that?
something like that?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was fun. But yeah, it was great. And then I got to meet him and take a picture, and I got to meet my hero,
Sweet.
and he was really nice, and got to talk for a minute.
That dude is so interesting, man. I don't know if you guys have ever had the luxury of like getting to do like sound checks or whatever.
Yes.
I was able to do a sound check for Zombies on Broadway. And
Yes, me too.
yeah, okay. So it was awesome. I mean, I'm sure I'm not sure if he told the same story where you were, but I was in House of Blues in Orlando, and he has, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but he always has his foot on on like a speaker essentially. And it, for people that are not in the know, that is your monitor. So you can hear yourself, you can hear your voice, you can hear the keys, all that stuff. the thing that was crazy is he has in-ear monitors, which that's what a lot of people have. They have these headphone monitors and that's how they hear themselves. And I remember shouting out, I said, "Why do you have two monitors?" And I found something out that day, and it is that monitor is unplugged, that it's not even plugged in. He just likes putting his foot on that monitor because it reminds him of the Something Corporate days. And he just like, that's how he feels at home playing the piano, is with his foot on an amplifier, which is super, super weird. But
That's awesome.
So nowadays, he only plays Konstantine at his Dear Jack Foundation show every year, 11/11. What's really unique about this year is that if you've looked at his tour calendar, he's scheduled to be on the rock boat that week, and he doesn't get off the rock boat until the 12th. So, of course, fans, especially fans who go to this Dear Jack show every year, regardless of where it is, there are some really dedicated fans who fly across the United States for this thing.
Yep.
And some of them were wondering, when is he going to do the foundation? And so back in September, they did announce he's doing it in Philly on November 13th, where he'll play the Dear Jack set, Andrew McMahon and Friends. I'm going on the rock boat in 2 weeks. And we got an email 2 weeks ago that said, Andrew's committed to doing the Dear Jack Foundation show for us on 11/11 that night, Thursday night. So you can imagine how pumped I was about hearing that.
That's awesome.
Because I have never gone to a Dear Jack Foundation show. I knew I wouldn't make it this year. I'm not going from Miami to Philadelphia over, from one day to the next. And I'm glad somehow I got lucky enough to get both. So, but I'm super excited. So I might be hearing Konstantine in about 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Hopefully that happens. We've already kind of touched on this, why he doesn't play that one. And here's my thought. So kind of contrary to what I just said, I am excited to see Konstantine. But if you think about a 90-minute set and a 9.5-minute song, if you got to choose, if he met you before the show and he's like, I'm thinking about playing Konstantine tonight. Should I play Konstantine, or do you want to hear 3 other fan favorites? Would you choose Konstantine?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I think the only way that I would say no is if he said it's either Konstantine or I don't play your 3 favorite songs. Because then it's just like, okay, but
it could be your 3 favorites in this scenario, in this completely made up scenario. By the way, that's never going to happen.
That's a really good would you rather scenario.
Yeah.
This is really hard.
Yeah. As an Andrew McMahon fan, our brains are just exploding.
I think you just invented a new
No,
phrase, Andrew McFan.
No, that is the correct way of putting it. Andrew McFan.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with the 3 other songs, And look, I would love to hear it. I'm glad that I at least got it once.
Mm-hmm.
I at least got to hear it at least the one time live to check it off my list. And if I hear it again, great. That's awesome. I'd go back to my whatever set list you're feeling, Andrew, just go with it. And I'm just gonna have a good time, get a drink and listen.
That's a good way to look at it. Like I said, I need to.
More people need to be like Jake.
Yeah.
I need to be.
I don't know about that.
Well, in that regard, more people need to be like you. Coming from a musician, it's something that is just refreshing to hear, that a fan is just like, I'm just glad you're playing music, man. I don't care if you play the song that I wanted. I'm just glad you're.
Especially post-COVID, I'm just glad the concerts are happening.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That was a scary moment.
Yep.
But yeah, it's good to be. It's good to be back, and he's going to be in Dallas soon, and I haven't bought the ticket yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have to go with hearing Konstantine.
Yeah.
Just because I never have. I've only seen him live once, and it was the Zombies tour. Of course, he didn't play Konstantine. I didn't expect him to, but I would love to just be able to say that I saw that live and just have that experience of seeing Konstantine live. And then that one would be enough. After that, my answer to the would you rather would be 3 fan favorites, but I would like to see it at least once.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've just read a couple of articles where he's kind of explaining that, and that's the example he always gives. It's like, I could play 3 other 3.5-minute songs, or I could play that one. I'd rather play that one. I could play 15 songs, or I could play 18 songs. I'd rather play 18 fan favorite. So let's move on to lyrics. So when you hear these lyrics, like we're not going to read through all the lyrics. Like I'd love to. We could, but we'd probably be here all night analyzing every word in this song.
Analyzing what kind of underwear is Konstantine wearing.
Yeah. So are there specific? So Mike just pointed out one. Obviously, that one jumps out at you, Mike. But
it jumped out at me when I was 13. But
for sure, yeah.
How long was her hair?
Yeah.
How long? We need the exact measurements.
Yeah.
How blonde
hair?
How blonde was it?
What dye did she use? What brand?
I love that you and your big dreams. It's always you and my big dreams line. You're talking about a give and take relationship. So I want somebody who puts me in the center of their universe, like I put them in the center of their universe. What are your thoughts on that? Lyrics are up to interpretation, obviously. Like I may take it completely differently than anyone else here. So but that's what I heard there.
Well, when I was driving home, I was actually listening to the song in preparation, and I actually thought about that lyric, and I just thought it sounded, just kind of epic, and kind of relates to another lyric, in my opinion, where he, he's talking about, I had these dreams that I might learn to play guitar, maybe cross the country and become a rock star. Every kind of young person has some iteration of that dream, or at least thinks about it at some point. And so it's relatable in that sense. And then, but he's involving her in this big dream of his, or whoever this person is that he's talking about. And big dreams, when we have big dreams, that are often involving somebody. And so he's kind of saying how important this person is, that, they are in this big dream.
Is this a breakup song or a love song, or is it both?
Yes.
Both at once.
In a lot of ways, it's both, man. It's a relationship. Okay, this is the best way to put it. It is a love song about a relationship that was bound to fail. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the vibe. Yeah, that's the vibe I always got.
Yeah.
And I always got the vibe that maybe I don't know the history, and maybe one of you do. I don't know the exact history of him writing this song, or who exactly it's about. But I always got the vibe that it was a love song, and then it was a breakup song, and maybe then it was a love song again, and then it was a breakup song again.
Sure.
I don't know.
There's plenty of verses and time for it to all be there. So
plenty of verses, right?
Yeah.
But that ambiguity is fun. Fans love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People picked apart the Hotel California lyrics they still do for decades, Like, what does it mean? And, are there satanic meanings in it? And, fans just we eat that up. We love not quite knowing the truth, or we love the mystery of it,
I was just going to say, I really like that it's just not at all the standard breakup song, because it's like, you don't know if he's still with the person that he's singing about. And I really like that. It's just because that's what makes it so realistic on teenage relationships that are so up and down and on and off. And it's just not as black and white as we were together and then we weren't. It just kind of meshes that feeling that are we together? Are we not together? We're together and then we're not. And I just think that it really is both a love song and a breakup song.
That's on the nose right there. It's a high school love song, because high school love is ups and downs and breakups and get back togethers and
hey, anybody who's old enough to remember Boy Meets World knows that Corey and Topanga got together and broke up a million times.
Oh yeah, a million times. By the way, I was gonna say, going back to that whole fantasy of fans loving, what everything means and things like that. I remember going to a concert of Andrew's talking about where he was talking about Cavanaugh Park, and everyone thinks it's this grandiose, oh my gosh, it's this beautiful place where he became a man and all this stuff, and he's it was a cul-de-sac with a McDonald's. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It just sounded cool, that's
hilarious. I never knew that.
Yeah,
I
but
never
that's
knew
the
that.
thing. Once you know, now the fantasy's gone.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So-
Mike.
You're
Thanks for ruining
welcome.
it for all of us.
My brother's name is Adam, so I always like to quote that line with him.
Nice.
Guy
Of
that
course.
we knew this guy Adam, and he always got caught.
Love it.
So do you guys know the story about when they were recording what became Konstantine on Ready Break? Do you know about the girl that came to the show? Do you guys know that story?
No, I would love to hear this.
There's not a whole lot more to it than that, to be honest. I think this was actually from an interview with Andrew. He said he was trying to impress a girl in the audience. And so he was playing, and he went in to that night with a 4 or 5 minute song called Konstantine. But he started adding words, kind of words he was thinking of or words he had in mind, lines he had in mind, and he added more to it. And it became this 9.5 minute song just in the moment where he was trying to impress this girl and sing to her. So what about you, Bella? Are there specific lyrics that jump out at you in this song?
I'm gonna have to go with the present's just a pleasant interruption to the past. I just love that line. I think it really is one of the lines in that song with many lines that encapsulates just like really why this relationship is so on the rocks. They're so uncertain about the future. They don't know what's going to happen. Andrew's got all these dreams. She probably has dreams too. They don't know if they can coincide with these dreams, and I think that line just really just shows that like they just really wanted to live in that moment and they couldn't, and they knew that time was fleeting, and that line always jumps out to me.
Yeah, that whole first verse it's like got to be one of the longest first verses in history. It's one thing to have a long song, but when I printed the lyrics out, which by the way, printed are 3 pages long. And they're all pretty unique. Like he doesn't do a whole lot of repeating.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's part of that epic first verse there. That's just like this ongoing story. And then he comes in with the chorus. If you're looking at this, and Mike, you may know more about this as a musician, but like, is this a traditional song with verse, chorus, verse, or do you get as lost as I do? Because after I think the second chorus, it's like, is this a verse now, or is this the bridge or outro? I don't even know. It's just like it becomes this like stream of consciousness thing after I think the second chorus.
Yeah, there is a structure, and then it becomes kind of its own thing for a little while because there's a bridge and then an outro to another verse.
Okay.
Because there's that outro being like the and then the if this is what it takes, I'll sit here and lie with my mistakes being like this other verse, and then the this is to a girl with the octave is now another verse when it should be the chorus. It makes no freaking sense. Like there's no, if you're trying to solve the math problem, like you can never solve for why. Like it's never going to happen, but that's one of the reasons why it's so great is because it doesn't make sense, because love doesn't make sense. It's like jazz.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. But in both respects.
Yeah.
Are you guys? Is anybody here a Jimmy Eat World fan? Because I mean,
absolutely.
He obviously name drops Jimmy Eat World.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know about Jimmy Eat World because of this song. Actually, I think my older brothers already listened to Jimmy Eat World, but when I heard it referenced in this song, I actually looked it up. A lot of you know it's the Jimmy Eat World song. For me, This Is Heaven, that has the lyric, "The first star you see might not be a star."
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, because the lyric I'm getting at is, "To the Jimmy Eat World in those nights in my car, where the first star you see might not be a star." So yeah, I kind of got into Jimmy Eat World because of this song.
Oh.
And so little shout out there to Jimmy.
I love when artists I like refer or reference other artists I like. I just think that's the coolest thing. So I had to look this up, and I did find out that 2 pop punk bands, and this isn't surprising at all, but I never knew it until I looked it up. 2 pop punk bands have since referenced Konstantine in a song.
Right.
Listening to Konstantine.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know that, Bella?
Yeah, I knew that one of them was Real Friends. Real
Yeah.
Friends reference Konstantine and
Wait,
one
I
of their
love Real
songs.
Friends.
Mhm.
Do you know which song it is?
It's I think I'm moving forward. I think it's the title of it.
It is. Yeah.
Holy crap! I gotta look into that. That's cool.
The other one actually isn't available on Spotify, which is what I use for music now. So I don't know how I'm going to get a hold of it, but I really wanted to hear it. It's called Success Story by a band called Holiday Parade. Holiday Parade has music on Spotify, but and I'd never heard of them. They sound good. I listened to a few tracks, but couldn't find Success Story. So that band also has a song called Walking By. I clicked on it in hopes it was going to be a cover of the Something Corporate song, and it was not. So I was very disappointed. But yeah, I love those references. So like, I don't know which came first for me. I don't know if I was a Jimmy Eat World fan or I had heard Konstantine first. I don't think so. It's interesting, Jake, that you got into Jimmy Eat World maybe because of the reference in Konstantine, whereas I think I had heard, if not become a fan of Jimmy Eat World when I got into Konstantine. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's another band I like. And it reminded me, I listened to that song earlier today, For Me, This Is Heaven by Jimmy Eat World. And I asked myself, why don't I listen more to old Jimmy Eat World? This is amazing. I think it's really powerful. This is to a girl who got into my head with all these pretty things she did. You know that you keep me up in bed. This is to a girl who got into my head with all the effed up things I did. Hey, maybe baby, you could keep me up in bed. I listened to the Dear Jack Foundation live stream version of this, which he did acoustically with strings last November. And I was trying to follow along with for whatever reason, that's the version I chose to listen to when I followed along in the lyrics. And I realized he changes some lyrics, and he changes, I don't know if it's the order of things, but I got lost a couple times. I was like, oh, where's he going with this? And he changed a few words. And I remember that part specifically, that he changed some of the words. So, but I think in both versions, the original and the the live version, that part's very powerful.
Do you think it was intentional?
I think so.
Okay.
I've seen an article where he says that there's some songs that he doesn't identify with as much anymore. And it was in reference to Konstantine. And he gave other examples of If You See Jordan and Drunk Girl. And the thing I found...
Not surprising.
Yeah. Some of those songs haven't aged as well. It sounds like it's from a teenager perspective. What was kind of funny about that, well, one, is that he played If You See Jordan at the Michigan shows over the summer. And the other thing is that in that same interview that I was reading, he said that if I was back with the guys from Something Corporate and we were doing a Something Corporate show, yeah, we'd play them all because that's Something Corporate. But outside of that context, he's like, that doesn't really fit anymore.
Yeah.
And I can see some of these lyrics. I mean, but I don't look at these lyrics and say these are childish or anything. I mean, I think it's poetry here.
Sure.
Anything else on lyrics before we move on?
As far as like my specific favorite parts of the song, which like, again, this is going to go back to what I said in the very beginning, and forgive me for sounding hippy dippy about this, but like a lot of the reason why I love this song is because of how it feels. And so a lot of my favorite parts are not necessarily words, but how he says them.
Yeah.
So, or how he sings them.
Yes.
So like at the very end, like the very last, last like sigh, like I missed you, and then you bring me home, like that like last resolve is one of my favorite parts, because it's like, it gives you chills every single time, at least me, because of that. You feel that sigh of relief, like, God, this is finally over with. We're together. We're kissing in the living room. Let's freaking do this thing. And yeah, and another thing too, when he does it in the Live in Ventura DVD, I personally like how he does this little run at the very end. That I need you in my living room. Like
Oh yeah.
It's just a lot prettier like that. And so I just personally really like how he does that. Yeah, that's my hippy dippy opinion about lyrics. So
one piece of lyrics that I really love from the song, when you hear a live version, especially the Live at Ventura DVD, when he says, "And you're restless and I'm naked," and you just hear these screams emit from the crowd. I just love that.
Even the one girl.
I laugh at that every time.
Was it just, maybe it was a couple, I don't know.
Yeah, this one girl's like, it's
love
stuck
her.
in my head forever, dude. Like, No, dude, it was me. I was at that concert.
It was you. Awesome.
It was
Yes.
me. That's my favorite part of the song.
I don't blame you.
So Mike just talked about his favorite part, and I agree. That's definitely one of my favorite parts. The ding, ding, ding. Like it gets so powerful there when he sings those words.
Also, it's full band as well, so it makes it way more powerful as well.
All comes together. Yeah. Bella, Jake, do you have a favorite part of the song in general, like whether it be lyrics or otherwise?
I actually kind of on the same page of what Mike was saying. I was thinking about how years ago I had downloaded like all the like the entire track list of Ready Break, and the last song is of course a live version of Konstantine. I've always preferred that version actually over the original, just because it's very raw. You can really tell that he's really feeling it when he's singing it there. And one of my favorite parts is like at the end of all the I miss yous, he kind of just whispers, God, I miss you. And he sounds so dejected, and
That's
like
the best part.
it just hits me every single time. It's like, it's painful. Like it's
so real.
Yeah, and it's such a simple little part, and yet I think about it like every time I hear Constantine, and most of the time if it comes up on Spotify, I'll end up going to YouTube and looking for the live version, and so I can listen to that one instead, just because of how much I love it all, but mainly that part, yeah.
So musically, to kind of tie into what Mike was saying a minute ago about, that last sort of chorus being full band. I always loved when a song goes from like a sort of acoustic setup to full band. I like some of the percussion choices too, like some of the like the I can't mimic the sound, but I like when it's sort of this like low, almost organ kind of sound, and then this kind of percussion comes in. I think you know what I'm talking about. And then I love when it builds up to that, and then you bring me home. That big moment there towards the later part of the song. It's a big payoff for if you chose to sit down and listen to the whole thing, and just kind of really takes your imagination somewhere. It's a fun ride.
I noticed that for whatever reason more in the the Dear Jack Foundation version from last November, but when I went back to listen to the original version on Spotify, or the Played in Space version on Spotify, I should say, I realized that they replicated it very well. There's still that build in there, and I know exactly what you're talking about with that percussion. It's like that build. It's like, oh, here we go, here it comes. I love that sound too.
Also, that bass line is really good. I don't know if you guys know the bass or hear the bass line in that where the organ comes in. I never noticed it before until, believe it or not, until my 50,000th time listening to it today. I was like, hey, the bass line's really good in this song. Like where like it's sick, dude. It's really good.
I wish I was better at picking that instrument out. I have trouble with that in general, picking individual instruments. But it's the bass I feel like I miss the most unless it's really defined and doing something very different. And it's unfortunate because I think the bass is probably just as important in most of the songs I listen to.
Absolutely.
It's hidden sometimes. And from my ear anyway, I don't know why. I have trouble picking it out. But I'm going to try to listen for that next time I listen to it.
No, it trust me, it's really good. It's pretty obvious towards the back half of the song, like in the like where the organ comes in and all that stuff, because it's very driving. It's the only driving part of the song, really. That's what's giving the heartbeat, and that's what's allowing you to feel like this is about to get bigger in a second,
Yeah. Is there anything about this song that you guys feel like we need to say that hasn't been said so far?
It's long, man. I don't think that's been said yet, so it's really long. I'm kidding. I love this song. It's nice to be able to talk to people that like the same things that you do and are passionate about them in the same way that you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always there's always a really kind energy with fans of these bands.
Oh yeah.
With his
yeah.
music, everybody's just always so nice, and positive. Even on the internet,
Yeah.
a place that's just a cesspool of not that.
Yeah, of negativity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I told Steve last time I was on podcast, I was like, I've been waiting for this podcast. So,
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate this experience. Andrew fans are just so easy to talk to, and we have that common ground of his music. And even though it's just his music, there's just so much there that we can talk about and bond over forever. And it makes talking just like super easy, even if we're all different people.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate that.
I'll never forget it. I remember the day The Glass Passenger came out. I talked to a guy that bought The Glass Passenger on CD, and I made him roll his window down and talk to him about Andrew McMahon for an hour and a half as well. A stranger. A complete stranger, because Andrew McMahon fans are weird. We could just talk about that guy forever, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe part of the appeal of Konstantine and songs like it is that innocence and the innocence that we know came with writing a song like that, and the vulnerability that had to be there to put a song like that out. And that's what makes us so comfortable as fans talking about this with other fans. That's because of what he's writing and putting out there. It's allowing us to be more vulnerable and put ourselves out there to others. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here. This was a lot of fun, as I always have a blast talking to other Andrew fans, as we've talked about. And I knew we had to do something special for Konstantine. So is there anything you guys want to say before you go? We'll start with Bella.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a very fun experience, as it was the other episode. And yeah, I appreciate it. And I loved talking with you guys tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Just thanks for everything. And you guys will always be my Konstantine.
Aw.
Love it.
That's all I have.
Oh my gosh. Thanks. This has been, I'm going to echo what everyone said here. Thank you for having me and for having all of us, Steve. This is awesome. I love this podcast. And if anyone is even remotely interested in what I do, I have a band called Mike Valdes and the Noise. It sounds a lot like Andrew McMahon. If you like podcasts and laughing, I have a podcast about nostalgia called Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. And I talk about just not losing your sense of childlike wonder. You can find me on Instagram, where you can find everyone else, You
can find me on Instagram at Jake's Mannequin, or on Twitter at Jake0790.
Yep, and you can find me on Twitter at Knock That Door. That's my Twitter and yeah.
Oh, and I'm at Mike Valdes, by the way. I never said that, but yeah.
So I'll link all of you guys in the show notes, so anybody listening can find you guys. So again, thanks so much for a great conversation. Thank you all for listening. I want to thank our guests as well. I had a lot of fun with these Andrew McFans. If you're listening out there and you'd like to discuss one of your favorite songs, either email somethinginthe.wilderness@gmail.com or message me on social media. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search Something in the Wilderness. Make sure to check out the show notes for that Dear Jack Foundation donation link, too, if you feel like donating to this cause. And be sure to stick around for part 2. And hey, isn't that what you said? What you thought this song meant?